Joining me now from San Francisco is Stefan. He's a geophysicist. He's joined us recently. We have a total lunar eclipse in store that is going to turn the moon blood red. There is so much interest, Stefan, in space these days. How can people get a glimpse of this?
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me back on. And yeah, we have a full moon on the night of the 13th going into the morning of the 14th. And this moon will pass into the shadow of the Earth because of the way the orbit is aligned right now. And so this will turn it a blood red color because you have the red wavelengths of light refracting through Earth's atmosphere. Those are the only ones that make it through. The blue light gets scattered. And so you have this blood moon that lasts for about an hour, the phase of totality. And that will be from about 11:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. from the 13th to the 14th for the Pacific West Coast of the United States. And it'll be 3 hours, of course, ahead for the East Coast, so more early morning. And also western parts of Europe and Africa will see it, Hawaii will see it, New Zealand will see it. So all the Americas will see this blood moon.
How common is an event like this?
Well, it's fairly common. We get these every few years, sometimes at a higher frequency. It depends on how the moon passes into Earth's shadow. If it passes just into the penumbra, the outer shadow, you don't get this phase of totality. You don't get that red light scattered onto the moon. If it passes into the umbra, then you'll get that. And so the last time we had these blood moons was actually in 2022, both in November and in May. And then we also had this phase of totality in 2021 in May as well. In between those periods, we get these sort of eclipses twice a year. They slowly move through the calendar. You can get like partials and just like penumbral eclipses, but these total ones only occur usually every couple or every few years.
Does anything coincide, Stefan, with an event like this, whether it's weather patterns, the way that pets can react? How should our viewers potentially prepare?
Yeah, the pet question is interesting because definitely animals are more sensitive to some of these things. But we do know, for example, when there's a total solar eclipse, when the moon is directly in front of the sun, that has some geophysical changes to it that are fairly short-lived. When you have these sort of perfect alignments between the sun and the moon, the main gravitational players for Earth, there are some effects. There's, of course, a little bit of exaggeration at times with this, but it is interesting to note that the last blood moons occurred in 2022. If we're talking about the stock exchange and the markets, that's the last time we had a little bit of a drawdown, and now we have another one coming up in 2025.
Oh, dang, Stefan. Quite the connection there. We've kind of already seen some of that red, unfortunately, with the S&P right near that correction territory. But I'm not surprised that a geophysicist, you might be a stock strategist as well here, Stefan, on our show. What else should our viewers know about weather patterns in general and what space might have in store for us?
Well, just in general, right now we are in solar maximum, and this is a phase of heightened solar activity that lasts about 3 years. The entire solar cycle is 12 years, so that's about 1/4 of the cycle. The last solar maximum is quite weak. That was going from 2012 to 2014, but it was very subdued. If you go back to the early 2000s, to the dot-com era, that's when we had a solar cycle very similar to the one that we're in now. So it's kind of interesting how the sun will go through these rhythms of activity and how there's rhyming across time, you could say. And so when you have solar maximum, you have stronger geophysical energies on the planet. And with this full moon, this blood moon, when you have the moon passing behind the Earth, it's interacting specifically with the radiation belts and different plasma that's stored in Earth's magnetic field. And that has some interesting effects as well. And that perfect alignment, a lot more research needs to be done on the specific effects that can have here on Earth and how we can feel that.
So, Stefan, just less than 2 weeks ago, I spoke to the CEO of Firefly Aerospace, just completed its first successful mission, had a lunar lander land on the moon, and it's actually going to be there during this total eclipse. What would that lander see that could be different from our viewpoint on Earth?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I made a post on Twitter X about that they should be releasing some really awesome footage from this eclipse because they are in a part of the sun that will enter into its nighttime on the 17th, but because they'll be on the sunlit side, they will get eclipsed and they'll see the Earth perfectly situated in front of the sun. And so the Earth will probably look like it's glowing a little bit, but maybe we'll see some red wavelengths and colors in their photography if they release any. They should be. There's no reason why they shouldn't be. So.
Stefan, so good to get your take. Thank you for joining us again. Stefan Burns is a geophysicist, and we will be watching that total lunar eclipse later on this week.